I'm Frank, the creator of this web series. What you're about to see is one installment of a 14-part animated documentary series about the fairies of world folklore. If you like what you see, and you'd like to see more, please stick around at the end of the video and I'll explain how you can help me produce further episodes. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy.
Brownies will actually move in with humans and provide useful services such as doing errands, churning butter, cutting hay, even tending to the family pet. In return, the brownie only expects the simplest of foods, some fresh cream or a slice of bread.
Poor thing.
Now, before you say, "I gotta get me one of those," be forewarned. Brownies are highly temperamental. For example, too strong a show of gratitude and your helper fairy can quickly have you running for help. One theory for the brownies' perplexing behavior comes from the idea that fairies are of divine origin. It was God who ordered them to serve mankind, and therefore, to give a gift to a fairy is to diminish the sacred nature of their service. Although others contend that they're just not very good at saying thank you.
Thank you for watching this first installment of MythicCodex. This episode, featuring the brownie, seems like the perfect place to kick off this series. Being one of the most common fairy types, this domestic spirit has many cousins throughout Europe and, due to Scottish settlement around the world, can be found in many corners of the globe far from its roots in the old country. Perhaps the most famous of this class of fairy is the loyal Dobby of Harry Potter fame. We can see the parallels with folklore in Dobby's ragged clothing, his compunction to stay hidden from muggles, and in the way he is dismissed from service when presented with clothing. These are all classic brownie tropes. Also, the name Dobby is the name given to brownies in the Yorkshire area of England. The classic brownie, as found in the Scottish Lowlands, is described as being about 2 feet tall, with leathery brown skin, and dressed in ragged clothes, no doubt worn out from all the hard work they do around the house. Other physical details may include webbed fingers, or no fingers, just fleshy mitten-like hands, or even the absence of a nose. Loyal and hard-working, a brownie will gladly pick up the slack of a neglectful servant, though too much sloth may incur the brownie's wrath, usually a minor bit of mischief.
Ouch!
Fairies and their kin have a deep connection with nature. Even though they typically work indoors, it was a common thing for a brownie to be attached to a nearby pool or stream, and like nature itself, they can have a wild, untamed aspect to their nature. Though not particularly vain, they will accept no criticism of their work, nor will they allow their efforts to be taken for granted. Both of these offenses are likely to invoke revenge, or even transform the friendly brownie into a troublesome boggart, throwing things around and causing general mayhem around a household. As previously mentioned, brownies and their kin have found their way to many far-flung corners of the world. Here in my own province of Nova Scotia, Canada, we have our own fairy class which bear many similarities to the brownie. At times called Michelines, these little people come at night to a farmhouse and braid a horse's mane and tail. The braiding of horse's hair is a quality of the French domestic fairy known as the lutin. Stories of these little folk were brought to Nova Scotia by early French Acadian settlers. Like the Scottish Brownie, Nova Scotia fairies are described as brown-skinned and about 2 feet tall. Michelines also have a trope regarding the refusal of a gift of food. But in this case, the trope is reversed. It is bad luck to refuse the gift of food from a Nova Scotian fairy. Interestingly, there are stories of Nova Scotia fairies hiding treasure and living in hollow hills. These are qualities they share with some types of Irish fairies, most notably the leprechaun. This suggests that this fairy type may have crossbred with Irish fairies from the old country. But long before the Scottish Brownie, the Irish leprechaun, or the French lutin came to this land, there were another little people at play in the primeval forests. The Mi'kmaq tell stories of a little people that resided here since the time of legends, benevolent stone spirits that live in the forest and can turn dangerous if disrespected. These little folk were called Mi'kmaq. Consider the name. This is where my passion for this subject matter really comes from. These were stories told around hearth and campfire for untold generations. Storytellers picking up the threads of one tale or another and weaving them gently into something new, a mingling of ideas invoked by a pure love of storytelling. I'm interested in your input as well. Do you have a story from your part of the world? Has the Scottish Brownie immigrated to your country in some form? Or do you have a homegrown variant of this class of domestic house spirit? Please share your stories in the comments section. Here I have to pause and wonder about the historical origins of the Brownie. It is postulated that fairy myths may represent a type of racial memory imprinted on the culture. The British Islands have been subject to countless waves of tribal invasion stretching back deep into the fog of history, each group conquering for a time and leaving its mark before being eclipsed by the next group. It could be that the Brownie has its roots in the history of a forgotten people that dwelled in Scotland long, long ago. At one time, northern raiders terrorized continental Europe, raiding towns for booty and slaves. Many Vikings settled in Scotland, perhaps with a servant class of people captured from Mediterranean towns. Prior to that age, the Romans too brought soldiers and servants from the far-flung provinces of their empire to ancient Britain. Then there is the presence of the people once called Laplanders, who dwelled in western Scotland, a people of dark complexion, who built round turf-covered homes which might resemble a fairy mound or hollow hill. I'd like to hear from academics on this point. Can anyone weigh in on the historicity of these origin theories? Please let me know what you think in the comments section. Before I finish this episode, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about the future of MythicCodex. This series about the fairies of folklore will run for 14 episodes. It was originally broadcast as a 1-hour documentary in 2003. I'm putting a great deal of effort into remastering the original, fixing, enhancing, and updating much of the animation and visual effects. When all 14 episodes are done and re-released, I'll begin releasing new episodes of creatures from myths and legends, beginning with another favorite subject of world folklore. In the future, I hope to cover all manner of mythic creatures, monsters, and themes, telling as much of world folklore and mythology as I can tell. But to do any of this work, I really need your help. Each episode requires up to a month of my time to complete. You can help me out a lot by becoming a patron of this series for $1 or more per episode. I've been doing animation and visual effects for almost 20 years. If enough people come on board to help me out, I can give this project my all and create something truly exceptional. Patrons of the series will have access to behind-the-scenes discussions, special offers on art from the series, and a chance to help guide future episodes. So if you're like me, a lifetime enthusiast of mythology and folklore, please consider becoming a patron today. To become a patron, go to www.patreon.com/MythicCodex or find the link at MythicCodex.com. In the next episode of Mythic Codex, Fairy Folio continues as we feature the Irish Grogach and examine other domestic spirit creatures from around the world. Thank you, and until the next episode, may the love and graces of the kindly ones be with you.